Looks like we're recording. Good evening, Vinícius.
Good evening, man.
How are you?
Nice and you.
All right. You see, I'm coming to you from the fog.
Yeah?
I'm trying to keep myself cool here in the midst because it's really hot. It's really hot. We got fires burning in the Pantanal. Apparently, that brought a lot of heat here to the Midwest of Brazil, as they call it. But
There
thankfully, I
is
have my humidifier.
a huge drought in Brasilia right now because I don't remember, but it hasn't been raining for a long time.
It's been
Like
140 days.
140 days without any rain.
Yeah.
Exactly. 140 days without any rain. It's a
Well,
desert.
you mean no other place in Brazil is like here?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't
No, I don't
know.
know. Maybe the Caatinga. I don't know. But
Even in Goiânia, it's near to Brasilia. I don't think they have like 140 days without raining. I don't think so.
mhm. So, man, these past weeks I've been churning over a question that was presented to me from a student, in fact, and the question is
Mhm.
very, very, very curious, and I'm curious to get your opinion about it. Is Brazil currently living under a military dictatorship?
We are not a military dictatorship now, but it's possible for the future if things continue like they are now. I don't think it's the moment for us to say that we are a military dictatorship, but at the same time, this policy of introducing a lot of members of military forces in the government is something very strange in a democracy. We are a democracy, but I don't know if we're going to continue being a democracy for the future if things continue like that.
So, what would be the characteristics then of a Brazilian military dictatorship? What were the
Again,
when we look
for
back in
example,
history? Okay.
I've just read the news. That the government is thinking about implementing in the Amazon forest, and I don't know if in Pantanal, but Amazon forest, I'm sure, with members of the military forces and the army, specifically, I think, especially the army, for them to go to the Amazon forest to oversee the activities of people who are destroying the forests. It's the policy that the government wants to implement, that the president is saying that he wants to implement. But
That gives me zero confidence that the government
I will,
will cut down on the fires.
me too. But okay, supposedly he has a good faith in terms of sending these guys to the forest for them to work there, overseeing people who are destroying the
Mhm.
environment. Okay, let's believe it. But man, these guys, these members of the military forces, will have what you call power of police, like poder de polícia, we call in Brazil. Like they will act like real overseers.
Mhm.
But there is a problem because we have in the public administration these real overseers from IBAMA. It's
Right.
the organ, and we have public servants. They have to pass the test, a very hard test, to be an overseer, working not only in the Amazon forest but other places, overseeing everything related to the environment. But these members of the military forces will have the same power or a similar power considering these public servants. Comparing to these public servants, these people have the technical knowledge
Right.
to impose qualifying. They understand about the laws. They studied the laws to pass the test. They have experience in the violations of the environmental rules, So it doesn't make sense for me if the military powers have the same power of public servants who studied for that. And over, this government is relying on the army, especially, for them to resolve problems that public servants are ready to resolve much better. So you can see the Minister of Health now is a military who doesn't know anything about health.
Right.
He would leave, but now he's permanent. Like he will be the Minister of Health, not knowing anything about health, And we have now 135,000 dead people because of the coronavirus, but the president is saying that we won the war, like that he has to congratulate the country because of the situation, man. So,
and people buy it. And people are buying it. People are buying it.
People buy it. The guy can say anything that people eat.
Yeah. People will swallow anything that he says. They're buying it hook, line, and sinker, like fish.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, the whole question of Obama versus the military. It's kind of like if you go to the hospital to get a brain surgery done, but instead of sending the surgeon, they send the cleaning staff to open up your brain. No, give me the surgeon. I want the surgeon. So and it's quite easy to manipulate them as well. Obviously, they're very manipulatable.
But of course, we cannot label Brazil as a dictatorship, I think, because we still have elections. We still have the possibility of choosing the governors, the politicians we think are the best ones. And I think it's an essential characteristic of democracy. We don't know if the future elections will be manipulated or not, but I think it's early for us to have this type of conclusion. I don't think it's fair.
Like in the United States.
About it now. What?
In the United States, they say, Trump says if he loses, then the elections, it wouldn't have been fair. Then we're going to have to cancel the election.
The problem is, I don't think we will have some kind of scam in the day of the election, in the computers. I don't think so. But of course, fake news is a reality now that we have to take care of. The way of manipulation for the next election, and from the right and from the left, from both sides of the story. But now the left has a disadvantage because now the government is being managed by a right-wing extremist, right-wing guy. Part of the money of the public administration can be invested in the elections. I think the best way for this government to invest in the manipulation of the future election is using fake news.
Right. It's a very important topic because that's another characteristic of a military dictatorship is the control of the information that gets out, the control over the media. And there's actually a good amount of criticism towards the media these days for not being critical enough of the president. And we're looking at questions of a word that I also like, a new word to me, which is lawfare, like warfare with laws, lawfare, which is a really cool word. And we see people being removed from their positions via law, and the new person being more favorable towards the orchestrator of the act of the removal, and that person being able to make different appointments that will help the person who is in the position of power. So you're able to push people out that are not favorable to you. And in fact, I mean, we even take a look at like Lava Jato. Lava Jato is a pretty obvious case of lawfare at this point. When you look at the reality of it, when you look at the messages from the prosecutor and the judge, and it was very clearly an episode of lawfare. So
Yeah, the use
but
of
I think
law to persecute enemies.
right. So it's a very that's another very important reality that we're living right now. And I think like when I look at the other characteristics of the military dictatorship in Brazil, I think were deforestation,
Deforestation, yeah,
genocide.
devaluing science, and the
Mhm.
scientists are not valued by these governments. Like on the country, they've been fired. There was a guy
Mhm.
in Ibama who was fired, not in Ibama exactly, I don't remember, another environmental organ, and that's an obvious characteristic of a dictatorship. And for example, the most horrible dictatorship in the world nowadays is a leftist dictatorship, North Korean. And in North Korea, man, I was watching a video. Do you know a guy called Christopher Hitchens? Christopher Hitchens.
Mhm.
He's
Yeah.
he's a British guy and a very important. He was a very important journalist in the United States, but he died in 2016. And he said in an interview that he went to North Korea and he spent some time there. And despite of being an atheist country, in his opinion, is the most religious country in the world because everything is done by the population to praise the dear leader. And the thing is, the heads of states, the heads of the states, is a guy who's been dead for 50 years. The president now, Kim Jong, oh yeah,
Kim
the
Jong
president
Kim Jong
now,
Un.
yeah,
Kim Jong Il was his father, and I forget the name of
yeah,
the
Kim Jong was the
creator
father,
of the
Kim Jong
regime.
Il is the son. Like he's the head of the Communist Party. But everything in the country happens in order to praise the dear leader. If you go to the theater, if you listen to a song, if you do anything, and 30% of the population is militarized, all the schools are militarized, no free press, no freedom of speech, no religion because they don't want competition. The religion is communism, but this type of communism where people have to praise the governor, the governments all the time. Of course, we're very far from being like this country, like North Korea. But man, we have some kind of characteristics in terms of praising the dear leader from parts of the population because the dear leader can do anything, can say anything.
Mhm.
And people will defend, people will protect, people will agree with, even if they don't agree in their intimacy, they will express agreements
Mhm.
only to support the guy, you know?
Even so, okay, by in their intimacy, like in their if they don't really agree with it, deep down,
Deep down.
yeah.
Exactly. Maybe, for example, what I see is sometimes the guy says some things that it's indefensible. Like you cannot agree with that, and any reasonable person can agree with that.
Mhm.
But even these people support the words only to defend it. It's a type of
Right. The
fanaticism. It's
yeah,
a type of fanaticism.
and when you look at the president, a good amount of his support came from the evangelicals because he himself says he's evangelical, even though just taking one look at him, listening to a couple of his speeches, it's obviously the
Mhm.
man is not connected in any way, shape, or form with Jesus Christ, with the words and the ideas of Jesus Christ.
Sure, sure.
So, however, the evangelical churches can instill fear so much in the left, the communists, and so on and so forth. And the return to communism and socialism. We're going to become Venezuela that they allow or they incite their fanatic followers to believe in this person as well, and they promote this person as good. So having that evangelical side in Brazil, that fanatic side, is very important. And even like a couple months ago, I don't know what percentage of the nation is evangelical, but taking a look at before the pandemic, he had like something like 30% of the support of the nation. Of course, with all these benefits that have been passed out, all the socialist benefits, all these free handouts of free money of 600 reais here, 600 reais here, that has his approval ratings have gone up by about 10%. So, but a large
say that
of the nation is fanatic, religious fanatic, and their support that easily gets directed to him.
We cannot say that all evangelicals support the guy. If we do that, we will exaggerate. But I think at least more than 90% of the evangelical churches support the guy. You know, I'm not speaking about people themselves, but the institutions support the guy. But there is a kickback, a type of kickback, because he promised a lot to give support to these institutions, like forgiving debts, and he now was kind of negotiating the forgiveness of some debts, and not
literally
only that,
literally a kickback.
Yeah, good promising word. Important functions in the government, in important aspects for the society. It's to give too much power to religious institutions, you know, and there is a kickback. Of course, it's a kickback. Of course, this guy is not a Christian. He pretends to be a Christian. He's all the time deceiving people with this type of idea. But the churches will support this idea that he is a Christian because they have a lot of advantages with this type of narrative, you know, because they have benefits, financial benefits from the public policies implemented to benefit them. And that's politics, man. Politics. We cannot say that we are a dictatorship, but we have some characteristics that if we don't pay attention to, we can turn into a dictatorship in a close future.
Well, thank you, Vinícius. Thank you for your comments. The next 2 years are due to be pretty difficult. Let's just hope that those next 2 years don't become another 6. In fact, those 2 don't turn into 6. That would be pretty horrible, I think, for democracy and the future of not only Brazil, but also the future of humanity. So,
exactly, man.
Let's keep fighting.
Humankind is at risk.
Yeah.
And with this problem of algorithms controlling people, we don't know about the future. If these dictatorships will use, of course, they will use these maneuvers to control our lives. We have to be ready for that.
We've never been more sheep than we are now. More like sheep than we are now. We're very much like sheep. So, thank you, Vinícius.
Exactly. Thank you.
I wish you a good evening.
You too, man.
Okay.
Good evening. So let's study some other issue for us to talk next time.
If anybody has some ideas out there listening about what you want us to talk about, please comment on Instagram and we will think about it. Okay? We'll consider it. Have a nice night, man.
You too, man. Bye.
Bye.